Have you ever sat in silence wondering if God still sees you? Maybe you've whispered prayers into the darkness of your room, your cheeks wet with tears, feeling as though no one is listening. You've done everything right. You've tried your best, stayed strong, held on, yet the pain remains. The sting of rejection still lingers. The future still feels unclear. And in that silence, you begin to ask, why me? Why now? Why does life feel so unfair? It's a question many hearts carry, not because they've lost faith, but because they're simply exhausted. Life can feel like a long string of unanswered prayers, of closed doors, of dreams slipping just out of reach. But what if that silence isn't emptiness? What if it's protection? What if the things that didn't work out, the people who left, the plans that fell apart, were all part of a deeper mercy? Sometimes God's protection doesn't feel like a miracle. It feels like heartbreak. The door that didn't open may have saved you from a storm you never saw coming. The person who walked away might have made room for your healing to begin. And the delays in your plans could have been the very thing that prevented you from breaking completely. This isn't just a comforting thought. It's a truth rooted deeply in faith. The Quran tells us, "But you may dislike something while it is good for you, and you may like something while it is bad for you. God knows and you do not know." That single verse carries immense healing. It reminds us that even when we don't understand, even when we can't see the full picture, God is still watching over us, still guiding, still protecting, still caring in ways we may not yet recognize. You are not being ignored, you're being guarded. So if you've been moving through life feeling invisible, forgotten, or broken, stay with me. Because what feels like chaos right now might actually be the quiet beginning of something far better than what you had planned. In this video, we'll explore 6 powerful signs that show God is still protecting you, even when you feel like everything is falling apart. These signs may already be present in your life. You just may have been too overwhelmed to notice. Let's take this journey together. Let's change the way we look at pain. Let's uncover the hidden mercy that often shows up in the form of unanswered prayers. Because maybe, just maybe, what broke you wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to protect you. And know this, God never abandons a heart that turns to Him, ever. Let's talk about those moments in life when everything takes an unexpected turn. You gave your all to that relationship, but it ended. You poured your energy into that job, only to be let go. You planned, prayed, persisted, but things still unraveled. In times like these, it's easy to believe that something has gone terribly wrong, that maybe you're being punished, that maybe you're not worthy of God's help. But I gently invite you to consider another perspective. What if these setbacks aren't failures, but signs? What if the things that left your life were never meant to stay? What if your current pain is part of a greater protection? Sometimes God steers us away from harm we cannot see, and His protection doesn't always come with clarity or comfort. Sometimes it arrives cloaked in silence, in struggle, in separation. But His wisdom is never absent, even when His plan feels hidden. That's why today we're diving into 6 meaningful signs that God may be protecting you right now, not punishing you, not forgetting you, but lovingly guiding you. Before we get to those signs, there's something even more important to understand: how pain transforms us and how it can become our pathway back to peace. Pain often isolates us. It makes us question everything: our choices, our worth, our place in the world. It makes us feel unseen, misunderstood, disconnected. But it's in these very moments, when we feel broken, uncertain, or lost, that our hearts open to something deeper. Not the kind of comfort that fades, but the kind of strength that stays. Patience, gratitude, stillness, trust in God. These qualities don't grow in ease. They are shaped in hardship. They're nurtured through experience, through loss, through healing, through endurance. And here's something to hold close. Not every delay is a denial. Not every loss is a punishment. Not every silence means abandonment. There is wisdom in the waiting. There is growth in the quiet. There is mercy in the redirection. The Quran reminds us beautifully, indeed with hardship comes ease. Not after hardship, with it. Even in your most painful moments, something good is being formed. Maybe you can't see it yet, but it's there. It might show up as a friend who calls right when you're about to fall apart. It might come as the calm you feel in prayer after days of restlessness. It might be the idea to begin again and the courage to do it. These moments aren't random, they are signs. Whispers from God that say, I am still writing your story, not ending it. In this video, I'll walk with you through 6 gentle signs, often overlooked, each one a quiet message from above. I am still with you. I am protecting you. You are not alone. This isn't about pretending the pain isn't real. It's not about masking your struggle. It's about learning to see differently, to recognize divine care even in the most disappointing chapters. Because the truth is, God's protection doesn't always feel gentle. Sometimes it feels like heartbreak. But what's taken from you may have been the very thing that would have caused you harm in ways you'll never fully understand. And when God protects, it's always complete, even when we don't recognize it yet. So let's begin. Let's uncover these 6 signs that God may already be showing you. Proof that His love and mercy surround you even now. You haven't been forgotten. You've been carried. To truly understand how God protects us through difficulty, let's reflect on the story of someone whose life was marked by both deep pain and divine purpose. Prophet Yusuf. His story is not just ancient history, it's a living lesson for every soul going through hardship. Imagine this: a young, innocent boy, full of dreams and love, is thrown into a dark, lonely well, not by strangers, not by enemies, but by his own brothers, his own family. Driven by jealousy, they plotted to erase him, thinking that would be the end of his story. But what they didn't realize was this: that moment in the well was not the end. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. From the outside, it looked like a tragedy. From God's view, it was a turning point. Joseph was later found and sold into slavery, taken far from home to a land where no one knew him, where his pain went unnoticed. He could have given up. He could have fallen into despair, but he didn't. Even in a strange land, surrounded by strangers, Joseph stayed rooted in faith. He carried himself with integrity. He made the best of where he was, trusting that God still saw him, still had a plan. And then, things got worse. He was falsely accused by someone he trusted and thrown into prison. Not because he did something wrong, but because he refused to do wrong, because he chose to uphold his values. Think about that. He made the right choice and still suffered. How many of us have been there? Choosing truth, choosing patience, choosing what's right, and still ending up hurt. But Joseph's life reveals a powerful truth. Sometimes God places you where you never wanted to be to protect you from what you cannot see. That prison cell, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. It was protection. Because while Joseph sat behind those stone walls, God was setting the stage for something greater. A rise that would not only restore his dignity, but position him for leadership, wisdom, and compassion. Eventually, he was released. His character, his patience, his trust in God, those were the keys that opened the next door. And in a turn no one could have imagined, Joseph was elevated to power, respected, trusted, and revered. Entrusted with leadership during a time of famine, Joseph became a source of help for an entire nation. But the most powerful part of his story wasn't just his rise to power, it was what happened when he came face to face with the very people who had betrayed him. His brothers returned to him, starving, desperate, and unaware of who he was. They stood before the man they had once abandoned, and he had every reason to turn them away. Every right to seek justice, but instead, he forgave. He wept. He embraced them with compassion. Because by then, Joseph understood something deeply profound. Every pain had purpose. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay was protection. He saw it clearly now. What once felt like suffering had actually been shaping him for this exact moment. There's a verse that echoes the essence of Joseph's heart in that moment. Indeed, my Lord is gentle with whom he wills. Truly, he is the all-knowing, the all-wise. Let that sink in. Gentle with whom he wills. That's what divine protection often looks like. gentle even when the path feels anything but. It doesn't always come with obvious blessings or instant relief. Sometimes it looks like a pit. Sometimes it looks like loss. Sometimes it looks like prison. But behind it all, God is guiding you, shielding you, strengthening you, preparing you for what's ahead. Joseph's story reminds us, you don't need to understand every chapter to trust the author. You don't need to see the destination to believe you're being led there. So if you feel betrayed, remember Joseph. If you feel forgotten, remember the prison. If you feel broken, remember the well. And above all, remember this. Your story is still unfolding, not by chance, but by the same one who protected Joseph and is protecting you too. Now let's bring this closer to your reality. Maybe you're not locked in a prison cell like Joseph was, but emotionally it feels like you are. Maybe you feel trapped in a job that drains you, in a relationship that confuses you, in a season of life that feels like an endless hallway of closed doors. You're doing your best to hold on. You pray, you try, you stay patient. But somewhere deep down, you're starting to wonder, where is the ease? Where is the healing? When will this get better? That's when Joseph's story becomes more than a story. It becomes a lifeline. Because he didn't get quick answers either. He didn't get a sudden escape. He waited. He trusted. He held on to faith, even when he had every reason to let go. And you can do the same. Your pain might not come from betrayal by siblings, but maybe someone you trusted walked away. Maybe they broke your heart with their words or their silence. And now you're left replaying the past, questioning what went wrong, wondering why God didn't step in. But maybe he did, just not in the way you expected. Maybe that heartbreak was the beginning of healing. Maybe that loss made room for the peace you never knew you needed. Or maybe your struggle isn't about love. Maybe it's about failure. You applied for that job. You worked hard. You believed it was meant for you, but the answer was no, and now you're questioning your worth. But what if that no was actually protection? What if you were being saved from a toxic workplace, spiritual burnout, or an unseen detour? Joseph didn't know how his story would end when he was in that well. He couldn't imagine leadership from inside a prison. All he had was trust, and that trust became his strength. That's the same kind of trust you're being called to have now. In the quiet, in the waiting, in the uncertainty, God is still writing. He is still building. He is still protecting. And one day, just like Joseph, you'll look back and realize every delay was mercy. Sometimes the person who walked away was saving you from pain you didn't see. Sometimes the job you didn't get was a gift in disguise. Sometimes the path that changed was a redirection towards something far greater. There is a quiet, powerful strength in saying, I don't understand what's happening, but I trust that something good is coming from it. That's trust in God. That's the kind of faith that transforms pain into purpose. She felt lost, ashamed, and unloved. For months, she isolated herself, questioning everything, her worth, her future, even her faith. She kept asking, why did this happen to me? And will I ever feel whole again? But one day, something shifted. She didn't feel suddenly better. She didn't receive some miraculous sign. She simply got up and decided to do something small. She volunteered at a local shelter. At first, it was just a way to pass time, to get out of the house. But slowly, something began to heal inside her. Each time she offered a meal, each time she listened to someone else's story, she started to realize she was still capable of giving love. She was still needed. She was still whole. And while her pain didn't vanish overnight, her heart became lighter. Not because her situation had changed, but because she had changed. Because in the act of giving, she rediscovered parts of herself she thought she had lost. That's the quiet power of giving, especially when you're hurting. It's a form of trust, a whisper to God that says, even though I'm in pain, I still believe in mercy. I still believe in purpose. And that belief, that's what brings the healing. So if you're wondering, what do I do while I wait? Here's your gentle roadmap. 1. Talk to God, not perfectly but honestly. 2. Keep praying, even when it feels hard. 3. Remember Him often, in small and simple ways. Practice gratitude even if it's just for one thing. 5. Give, even while you're healing. These steps aren't meant to erase your struggle. They're meant to help you walk through it, to anchor you, to remind you that even in pain, you're not abandoned. Because healing doesn't always look like a breakthrough. Sometimes it looks like a quiet moment of peace. Sometimes it's a deep breath, a softening of the heart, a whispered prayer in the middle of the night, a moment where you realize, I'm not okay yet, but I'm still moving forward. And that's enough, because the one who carried Joseph from the depths of a well to the heights of a kingdom is the same one who is carrying you. You don't have to understand it all. You just have to trust. You are still being written, and the author of your story is merciful. She said, I thought I was helping them, but really they saved me. Her pain didn't vanish overnight, but her heart began to heal in a new way, through purpose, through service, through knowing her story wasn't over. Maybe your way of giving won't look like hers, and that's okay. It could be something as simple as checking in on a friend, smiling at a stranger, listening, really listening, when someone needs to talk, because healing doesn't always happen in solitude. Sometimes it happens through connection. And finally, be kind to yourself. You are not weak because you're struggling. You are not faithless because you're hurting. You are human. Even the strongest hearts break. Even the most faithful believers have moments of doubt. God sees your tears. He hears your silent prayers. He knows how hard you're trying, even when no one else does. You're not being judged for your wounds. You're being held gently, lovingly, by the one who understands your heart better than anyone else ever could. So if today feels heavy, if you're unsure how to move forward, start with one small act of faith. Say one heartfelt dua, whisper one short prayer, speak one kind word, take one deep breath, and remind yourself, healing is happening, slowly, silently, spiritually. You don't need to rush. You don't need to pretend. You just need to trust that even in this moment, God is protecting you, guiding you through a kind of healing that lasts. And when you come out the other side, because you will, you'll see the wisdom in every step. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished. You are protected in ways you can't yet imagine. Let's bring this even closer to real life, because it's one thing to hear a powerful story and another to walk through your own. Maybe you're holding pain right now, quietly, silently, while life keeps moving around you. Maybe you're stuck in a toxic relationship. It drains you. You cry more than you smile. But you keep trying to make it work because you're afraid of what happens if you walk away. You wonder, is it wrong to leave, or is staying the test? But sometimes, protection from God is the strength to walk away, not out of rebellion, but out of self-preservation. Sometimes the person you're holding on to is the very thing God is trying to remove, to bring you peace. Or maybe you're facing unemployment. You've applied everywhere. You've sent resume after resume, and still, silence. You start to feel worthless, like your efforts don't matter, like the world has no place for you. But what if this delay isn't a rejection? What if it's space? Space to explore something new, to build a skill, to reconnect with your faith in a way you couldn't when you were constantly busy. One brother once shared how he didn't get the job he prayed for. It broke him. But months later, he got hired at a small company where he met someone who introduced him to an entirely new career path. One that gave him purpose, peace, and financial stability. A job that never existed in his plans, but was always in God's. Sometimes what looks like failure is just redirection. And then there's the silent struggle so many of us carry, mental and emotional exhaustion. You're tired, but no one can tell. You smile, but it's forced. You're surrounded by people, but still feel alone. You try to be the strong one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't break. But inside, you're quietly falling apart. And this kind of struggle, it's real, it's valid, and it matters because the most beautiful thing is, God doesn't just see your actions. He sees your exhaustion too. He rewards your silent battles. He knows when you force yourself to pray through tears. He knows when you say, I trust you, even when your heart is filled with fear. Maybe this test isn't about proving your strength. Maybe it's about learning to lean not just on yourself, but on Him. Because healing doesn't always come in the form of answers. Sometimes it comes in quiet resilience, in knowing that even if no one else sees your pain, your Creator does. So how do we apply all of this? How do we carry these spiritual truths into the reality of our day-to-day lives? Start small. If a relationship is hurting your soul, ask yourself, is God trying to make space for peace in my life? If your plans aren't working out, ask, what might I be protected from that I can't yet see? If you're mentally drained, allow yourself to rest without guilt. Trust that slowing down doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Make space in your life for the signs of divine protection to appear. You might notice a friend checking in just when you needed it. You might be delayed by a few minutes and unknowingly avoid harm. You might feel a sudden urge to change direction and later realize it was the best decision you ever made. These aren't coincidences. They're gentle whispers from God. I've got you. I'm steering you. You don't see it yet, but I do. And even when you make mistakes, because we all do, don't let guilt disconnect you from God. Protection isn't just for the perfect. It's for the struggling, the doubting, the ones who fall, but keep crawling back. God's mercy covers those who sincerely seek Him, no matter how many times they've fallen. So when life gets hard, remind yourself, you are not cursed. You are not forgotten. You are being loved through the lens of protection. Yes, protection can feel like loss. Yes, protection can feel like delay. But in the end, you'll see it for what it truly was. Love in disguise. You just have to trust the one who sees the whole picture and hold on, even if it's just by a thread, because even one whispered dua can reach the skies. So now, take a deep breath. You've made it through this journey, not just of listening, but of reflecting, maybe even healing. And I want you to know something your heart might really need to hear right now. You are not being punished. You are not being forgotten. You are not being ignored by the one who created you. Sometimes the greatest protection from God doesn't look like a miracle. It looks like the breakup you didn't want, the delay you didn't expect, the silence that made you go inward, the pain that finally brought you back to Him. You may not see the wisdom yet, but you don't have to. All you need to know is this: if something left your life, it didn't leave without God's permission. If something didn't happen, it didn't happen without His mercy. And if you're still here, breathing, living, praying, it means you are still being carried. There's a quiet kind of peace that enters your heart when you truly believe that nothing in your life is random. Not the hardship, not the delay, not the loss, not even the rejection. Everything is part of a divine design. A design that is not working against you, but always, always working for you. The signs of protection are all around you. The friend who checked in, the path you didn't take, the strength you didn't know you had, and maybe the fact that you're listening to this right now is one of those signs. So if you're in a season of confusion or heartbreak or waiting, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it, pray through it, trust in it, because the one who allowed the storm is the same one guiding you to calm. He's not finished with you. He's just protecting what you can't see yet. So hold on to hope. Hold on to prayer. Hold on to the quiet, knowing that you are never alone. And remember, you don't have to have the answers. You just have to keep turning back to the one who does. Because even when everything feels uncertain, His mercy is certain, and it's always, always near.